c5 controls the central d4 square. c4 gains space in the center and the queen side, and prepares to develop the knight to c3. Black develops the knight and attacks the center. Knight c3 develops the knight toward the center and controls the d5 and e4 squares. Developing the knight and increasing influence in the center. This prepares the bishop for development. This is an equal trade. Takes back. The bishop is ready to be developed to an active square. This is a book move, meaning it follows established opening theory, played by top players for years. This develops a piece while also winning a tempo on a knight. This attacks a bishop, winning a tempo when it moves away. This move puts the bishop on a safer square. This prepares the bishop for development. Castling gets the king out of the center of the board, while also developing a rook. The bishop joins the board early, building a strong opening for white. The bishop is ready to be developed to an active square. Both kings are castled and ready for the middle game. This fianchettos the bishop by placing it on a powerful diagonal. Developing the bishop and increasing influence in the center. This is not the right idea. This is the strongest option. Very precise. This activates a rook by developing it off of its starting square. There were worse moves, but also something much better. This is not the right idea. That's fine. That's an unfortunate error. After all captures, this is an equal trade. Now black can't stop white from winning a knight if they make the right moves. Right on target. Capturing that knight wins material. This threatens to capture a pawn and win material after the follow-on trades. This permits the opponent to eventually win material. This overlooks an opportunity to eventually win material. The knight is kicked by a pawn and must now move or be captured. This takes an outpost, a square where the knight cannot be kicked out by a pawn. There were worse moves, but also something much better. This overlooks an opportunity to offer an equal trade of pieces. Advancing the pawns in front of the king can compromise the king's safety. This missed an opportunity to punish a mistake. This move gives white a protected passed pawn, improving their position. This missed an opportunity to punish a mistake. This is the only move that works. This threatens to set up a blockade. This permits the opponent to win a tempo by threatening a queen, putting the piece on a blockade square. This moves the queen to safety. This is an equal trade. Recaptures. This is the strongest option. The pawn is now adequately defended. This is the only good move. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. Takes back. Very precise. This is not the right idea. The rook is now on an open file, which helps control squares across the board. This offers to exchange pieces of equal value. This is an equal trade. Recaptures. This is the only move that works. White's pieces move to a square with greater activity and control. This adds pressure by pinning a knight. There was only one good move there. This is the only good move. After all captures, this is an equal trade. Takes back. That's not a mistake, but it's not the best move either. There were worse moves, but also something much better. This threatens to win a pawn through a fork. This prevents the opponent from being able to win a pawn through a fork. Right on target. This defends a pawn that was under attack and had no defenders. This threatens to win material through a fork. This stops the opponent from being able to win material through a fork. This is not the right idea. Recaptures. Black begins maneuvering the bishop toward a more active square. This moves the bishop to a more active square, making it gain scope. Black's bishop has moved to a square with greater activity and control. An active king is critical in the endgame, and getting it off of the back rank is the first step. An active king is critical in the endgame, and getting it off of the back rank is the first step. This is the strongest option. This blocks white's pawn. Very precise. Right on target. This steps away from the checking knight. The game was close to balanced, but now black is worse. This is the only move that works. White was better off, but now their position is winning. This is the only good move. This protects an underdefended pawn that is under attack. There were worse moves, but also something much better. This threatens to win a bishop through a fork. This stops the opponent from being able to win a bishop through a fork. This is the strongest option. This wins a knight. This misses a much better move. A very strong play. The knight now occupies a secure outpost. This move puts the bishop on a safer square. This is a fair move. This creates a pawn chain, linked pawns that form a strong structure. That's fine. This is the way to win a bishop. This moves the bishop to safety. This is an equal trade. Takes back. That's not a mistake, but it's not the best move either. Very precise. That was a free pawn. This makes a passed pawn. This is the way to win a bishop. The passed pawn moves towards its goal. Right on target. A solid choice. That was a free bishop. This wins a bishop. This is the strongest option. This steps away from the checking bishop. The passed pawn moves towards its goal. This evades the check from the pawn. This moves the bishop to a better location, allowing it to control more squares. That bishop was free for the taking. Pushing a passed pawn. E5 is a common response that establishes a presence in the center, controls d4, and opens up the queen and dark-squared bishop. Knight f3 develops the knight toward the center, attacks the e5 pawn, and prepares to castle. Knight c6 develops the knight toward the center, protects the pawn on e5, and eyes the d4 square. The Ruy-Lopez opening develops the bishop to immediately attack the knight on c6, the lone defender of the e5 pawn. a6 forces the bishop to decide exchange or retreat. Bishop a4 safely retreats the bishop while keeping pressure on the knight. Knight f6 attacks the undefended e4 pawn and develops the knight at the same time. Castling gets the king out of the center and prepares to develop the rook to e1. Bishop e7 develops the dark-squared bishop and prepares to castle. Rook e1 centralizes the rook and protects the e4 pawn. b5 gains space on the queen side and forces the bishop to the b3 square. Bishop b3 is forced, but the bishop is well placed because it attacks the f7 square. Castling gets the king out of the center and activates the rook. a4 takes space on the queen side and attacks the b5 pawn. Bishop b7 puts the bishop on the long diagonal in a move called a fianchetto. d3 supports the e4 pawn and allows the dark squared bishop to develop. d6 supports the e5 pawn and controls the c5 square. White develops the knight and attacks the center. A solid choice. Very precise. This mobilizes the knight, allowing it to control more of the board. After all captures, this is an equal trade. This is an equal trade. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. With this recapture, Black introduces a new piece to the game. This defends the attacked pawn. Right on target. This is the strongest option. This moves the knight to safety. This creates luft for the king, providing it an escape square. This is an equal trade. Takes back. This threatens to capture a pawn and win material after the follow-on trades. The knight is kicked by a pawn and must now move or be captured. This move puts the knight on a safer square. This threatens to win a queen by eventually trapping a piece. Very precise. This loses a pawn. That was a free pawn. That's not a mistake, but it's not the best move either. The knight finds a new active square. This moves the bishop to a more active square, making it gain scope. Right on target. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. Recaptures. This overlooks an opportunity to offer an equal trade of pieces. Now white can't stop black from winning a pawn if they make the right moves. This is the strongest option. This is the way to win a pawn. This move puts the bishop on a safer square. That pawn was free for the taking. This wins time by threatening a bishop and forcing it to move away. This move puts the bishop on a safer square. This overlooks an opportunity to develop a queen off its starting square. This overlooks an opportunity to take an open file with a rook. This misses an opportunity to develop a queen off its starting square. This threatens to take an open file with a rook. This threatens to win material through a tactic. This allows the opponent to eventually win material. This wins material. This blocks the attack on a rook that could have been captured. This wins material. This steps away from the checking knight. This threatens to play checkmate. This stops the opponent from being able to play checkmate. This moves the knight to safety. This removes a knight that put the king in check. Takes back. This evades the check from the knight. This move puts the knight on a safer square. This steps away from the checking knight. This loses a knight. That knight was free for the taking. The pawn is now passed because it can no longer be challenged by pawns as it tries to promote. This overlooks an opportunity to evade the check from the opposing queen. This moves the queen to safety. This blocks the check from an opposing queen. This makes a passed pawn. This wins a tempo by threatening a rook and forcing it to move away. This permits the opponent to eventually win material. This misses an opportunity to win material through a tactic. This threatens to tactically win a bishop. This prevents the opponent from being able to win material through a tactic. This loses a bishop. This wins material. This blocks the check from an opposing queen. Now black can't stop white from winning material if they make the right moves. This moves the bishop to a better location, allowing it to control more squares. White attacks a trapped piece and will win a knight.